Hey, I would greatly appreciate it if you could support my eBay store. Simply go to ebay.com. In the search bar, type in Latrice Limited. Click on that and support me. I have a wide variety of items on there, many of my own personal Latrice Limited items, candles, soaps, bath bombs, sleep masks, lingerie robes, all that. Definitely check it out. And now let's get into the video. South Park creators have actually tried to eliminate the whole tipping system within Casa Bonita restaurant. Okay, so I got an article here. I'm gonna give it my thoughts and opinions as we go. In the city of Lakewood, Colorado, there's a restaurant you might have heard of called the Casa Bonita, which had just reopened after a lengthy renovation. The Mexican restaurant is owned by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, okay, who even featured the place on their show before they bought it in 2021 when it filed for bankruptcy. One of the main policies of Parker and Stone's restaurant is that customers can't tip their servers. You heard that right. As according to Insider, a few days before opening, staff were offered new contracts which said servers and bartenders would be paid $30 an hour but could not take tips. Okay, so either I'm paying you the minimum wage, whether that's $13 and some change an hour, and you get tips or not, or I give you a straight up, here's $30 an hour, no tips. Mind you, around the world, in most places, some places in Canada, not so much, but in the EU, there's no tipping. That's not a thing. So if you go to France, that's not a thing. They don't tip. If you tip, I mean, cool, but that's not a normal thing that happens, okay? There's more than just double Colorado's minimum wage of $13.65, and it would appear to tackle one of the root issues with tipping, that servers just aren't paid enough, or not everyone is a fan of this approach. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of tipping, okay? Because at the end of the day, that is between you and your employer. If I go to Walmart, am I going to tip the person that's bagging my items? No, you would say no, because that's their job. You know, they're supposed to do that. My point exactly. Now, it's one thing if you're waiting on someone hand and foot, but at the end of the day, most of the time, if I'm going to get my food, it is going to be a pickup kind of thing. Pickup, I'm gonna just go over there and pick up my food. So if I'm going to Longhorn, I'm gonna order online and pick up my food. Or even if I go there and order, it's going to be to go. So all you're going to give me maybe a water and a drink, and that's the bare minimum that you're doing. So why should you now get a $20 tip or a $10 tip or even a $5 tip for doing just literally the bare minimum? That's what my main thing has been about. You know, it's like, I'm not tipping everybody else for doing everything else. Are you going to McDonald's and tipping the person that's that gives you your food? And hey, did you want extra napkins? Okay, that'll be an additional $5 for my tip. You wouldn't do that, so why would you have to do it over here? The only reason why we do it is because we have a lot of companies that simply do not want to pay people more. But now he's saying, okay, or they're saying, hey, here's $30 an hour, but we're not doing tips. And that's a way, in my opinion, to kind of keep it a little classy too. You know what I mean? But now and I'll get into it, but you have some people who kind of think like, but I need tips. I want the $30 and a tip. How about no, you get the $30 and no tip, or you get out of here, right? Axios Denver reported that the Casa Bonita restaurant initially offered jobs to servers and bartenders with hourly wages ranging from $14.27 to $15.27, as well as any tips they could collect. So would you rather be making $14.27 and let's say you made $30 in tip that day, okay? And let's say you worked 8 hours. So would you rather do that, or would you rather be making $30 an hour and no tips? You know what I mean? So it kind of just looks like, why would you want to pick that? Employees who were hired through those contracts were then recently called into a meeting where they were told they could either sign the new $30 an hour contracts but not take tips, or quit. You know? The outlet says that they spoke to employees who asked to remain anonymous, who said the new contracts would provide more stability at times when the restaurant wasn't full, but would represent a decrease in total wages if Casa Bonita was packed with paying customers leaving tips. So this is one of those things where you really can't please everybody, because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, we need to be paying our waitresses and waiters more because this isn't fair, right? So it's like, okay, well, cool, I'll pay you more. Here's $30 an hour. We don't do tips here. How dare you? But I make a lot of money on tips. So you want to have crappy wages in hopes that someone pays you money and tips because you guys are forcing them, essentially, is what's going on. You have a lot of restaurants that add in gratuity depending on how many people you have, or just period, they'll add in gratuity. You also have it on a receipt. Oh, hey, give this much. You also have another thing where it's like, oh, sign your name. And then, oh, you can sign your name on this electronic device, but if you want to give a tip too. And it's like, you give me tips for everything. It's ridiculous how much is going with this tipping culture. I remember I went to a barbecue joint and they were like, oh, you want to give a tip? And I'm like, all y'all did was cut the meat and put it in a bag for me, which is literally the bare minimum. That's all you guys do. You cut the meat up and then you put it in a bag and gave it to me. What? It's like I work at a call center. Hello, my name is Alexandria. So you should just give me a tip because I gave you a hello, right? I mean, this is bare minimum stuff that I'm talking about, so now you got people who are mad because they're saying, well, I could be making more money from tips possibly. Well, then go work at an Applebee's and make your money from tips. If you're making $300 a day in tips, go to your Applebee's then. If you're making $100 a day, $200 a day, whatever in tips, then go ahead and go over there. But I'm gonna be real. And it also kind of depends on how many hours you're working anyways. I mean, if you're only working 3 hours or 4 hour shifts, then that's a little different. But if you're working, 8-10 hour shifts and you're getting paid $30 an hour, I don't know. I kind of find it a bit hard to believe that this is an issue for you. I feel like people just want to get outraged because something's different. People just automatically want to get outraged. It's not like they're taking, really too much from you. Hey, if you want to get your tips in or whatever, get a part-time job somewhere where you could get the tips and you could compare your check. And heck, if you're making more money over there, making $7 an hour plus tips and your tips are making you more money, cool, then go. But if you have this and they're saying, I mean, this is an upgrade from what you were getting before. You have $14.27. This is an upgrade from that. I mean, it's over double than what you were making. And then now it's still an issue. I personally, and of course I'm not a server, but I personally think this is a step in the right direction. This is we're far behind it, but this is something that's getting us more acclimated to how the EU is, in how you pay the person a livable wage and not expecting customers to have to pay. Oh, but that customer is a millionaire though. But it's not his job to pay you. It's his job to pay for the food, but it's not his job to pay you in particular. So that's one thing. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like it's a little greedy. I get people got to pay their bills and everything, but it's a little greedy to me that you were like, oh, but I want a little bit more. I need some tip money and it's $30 an hour. And it's like, come on, man, what are we doing?